So here we are, episode 2 of Surrogate Church. I am Mary Ann Franzese Chasen. And for all of you who tuned in to the first show, thank you so much. As you know, it took a lot to get it going and to get started. And after doing the first show, there was such a surge of enthusiasm about just getting started, finally doing it, showing up, making it happen. And then this week, as I was preparing, I was struck by the feeling of, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to do this again? What am I going to do? What am I going to say? And of course, I turned to my children, who are always so supportive in helping me to prepare. They were like, Mom, you've got like 300 pages of text. You have plenty to put out there. But what it really brought me to was this idea that when we are called, when something in us knows that we are called to do something, something good, something meaningful, something that we have to put in the world, we are met with a lot of support from the universe. It's there. It sweeps under our wings and says, go. But while we're up there and we're noticing the scope of the journey, it starts to become important to prepare. How do we prepare for the magnitude of what's ahead? The preparation piece. And preparation takes time. It's uncertain. And I certainly understood that when we decided to go forward with the surrogacy. There was a lot to prepare in order to get to the place where we were even ready for implantation of the embryo, the start of new life. And like all sacred journeys, you need to start with an invocation. Who are you going to invoke to be with you, to be beside you, to guide you, to walk with you so you are not alone? And so I start episode 2, preparation, with invocation. I see now that I am not alone. I invoke the mystical minority of women walking the malls of suburbia. We are the women who get inspired easily. We think a lot, feel a lot, and see beyond what is in front of us. We are the women who get distracted from the details of daily life, and sometimes we feel like we are caught between two worlds. We show up for all our daily duties, but we never feel like we fully belong to the Suburban Girls Club. We are the women who are not after perfection, and a lot of times it feels like we will never get it right. We try every day to be exactly where we should be, raising the children who will evolve the planet. We are exhausted by the task. We are honored to be chosen for the task. We are the women who are often mild-mannered, unassuming. No one would ever guess that we are called into the woods, to the place where deep thoughts emerge, where deep feelings live, where the deep desire to create calls and calls and calls. We are the women who embody mystery. We carry a secret in our hearts, hiding our true powers. Mundane heroes, each carrying a mark that can transform the way we see, feel, think, love. Our challenge is to heal our children's world from the depths of our wombs. I invoke the support of the Suburban Mystics to tell this story of birth. Why the mystics? Why the mystics and not the scientists? both seekers of truth, and this journey has certainly been one where we set out to understand the mysteries in birth. I seek the mystics because the mystics look beyond appearances, beyond what's right in front of you, to try to understand the mystery of things that can't really be fully explained. And so I know you're out there. I know there are women who walk this kind of walk, old, young. I call you to be part of this journey with us. So I start the show today with my first guest, who will always be my first guest, and that is my surrogate daughter, Mary Napolitano, and we will check in with her and see where she's at this week. So, Mystic Mary, do you even know what that means, Mystic? No. What would you think it means? Vocabulary test. Mystic. Mary. Were you listening to my invocation? Thank you, Mary. Mystic. You're such a mystic. Mystic means like you look beyond surfaces. Do you judge people by their outer?
No.
What do you judge them by?
Like if they're a good person or not?
Right, their inner heart. Anything new with you this week?
No, that's all.
I notice your nails are new. Mm-hmm. Can we show us? Blue tips, beautiful. Was the guy nice to you who did them?
No.
Really? Why?
He was rude.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
Did you tell him? What'd you tell him?
Well, I just said, like, because he made a mistake on them, so then I was like, I don't like how they look, so then I had to, like, re-get them done.
Well, and see that? Like, there you are, standing up to yourself. That could be a little intimidating. Did he understand English?
No, one of the workers told.
She had to translate it for you? That's great. So here we are on the second week of our show, and what do you think? Do people know that you were carried in this way? Have you told any friends?
No, because no one really understands. Like,
do you feel like you would be embarrassed if people found out?
I wouldn't be embarrassed. I just, like, they would ask so many questions that, like, I don't really know how to answer.
So you'd be put in this position to explain, and that would feel awkward.
Yeah.
What do you think, like now at your age, if, let's say, your mom had to be a surrogate for someone, like my kids kind of had to deal with me being a surrogate, how would you feel about that?
I wouldn't really like it because, like, all my life I've, like, been an only child, and, like, you've, like, carried me, so I don't think it would be fair if, like, she carried someone else.
You would be mad about it. Well, I'll tell you this. Emma, who is my oldest daughter, at the time was just about your age. She was in 6th grade, a little bit younger than you, and she did not like the idea of the surrogacy. She was so embarrassed by it, and she would like just have fits about it and say, I don't want you doing this, I don't want you showing up for school. So I went to her parent-teacher conference, and I was talking to her teacher, and he said, oh my gosh, you're pregnant again? I didn't even know. And so I explained to him that I was a surrogate and how Emma felt embarrassed about it. And he said to me, oh, well, maybe she's worried that people will think that you are a lesbian. I was like, what? What does that have to do with anything? And he said, well, because many gay lesbian couples have to go through surrogacy to carry a baby. I said, I don't think she's worried about that, but all she says is she's uncomfortable about it. So it was this weird, awkward conversation with her teacher. So of course, I go home and I tell Emma that I had this conversation and she wanted to kill me, right? What would you do if that
would be like mad.
So mad, right? Mortified. And I kept asking her, Emma, is it that you're afraid something's going to happen to me? Is it that you just are embarrassed? What is going on? And all she could get to was, she said, it is the same feeling I had when you gave blood. Like, again, weird. There was a time where I was at a blood drive and I had given blood, and Emma was like, I just never want you to do that again. So she said, it has something to do with the bloodline, some connection to our bloodline. So to this day, it is still one of those mysteries about why Emma was so upset, but I feel like it's connected to something ancient in her, like some feeling of the blood that goes to the baby is sacred. I don't know. But once you were born, she adored you. How do you and Emma get along now?
Good.
Right? Still good friends?
Mm-hmm.
Loves you so much, but the process was a little bit embarrassing. Interesting for me is that when I was carrying you and I was in the fertility clinics, I noticed how many women actually felt embarrassed about not being able to have a baby naturally. So it is one of those kind of awkward things. Not many people talk about it. The actual fertility clinic was so quiet, like the waiting rooms, no one would talk. It was just this sort of hush, like this is the kind of thing you don't share with people. And I actually wrote a piece about it. It's called Fertility Clinic, and it sort of goes into just that feeling of being sort of choosy about who you do share it with, because it's something to be very proud of, but at the same time, like you said, people have a lot of questions, a lot of misconceptions, and it could trigger things that we don't even really know what the source is. So the preparation for the surrogacy is very tedious and in a lot of ways difficult. For me, I'm the mother of 4 children that all came naturally. It gave me the opportunity to really understand what it's like for a woman who is experiencing difficulty conceiving to become part of this process. Fertility clinic. 7 a.m., a hallway full of women waiting for the doors to open. We line up to sign in. We take our seats and wait, waiting to be called. Nobody talks or makes eye contact or chats about the daily grind of shooting hormones, drawing blood, internal sonograms, shifting moods, making eggs, retrieving eggs, grading eggs, fertilizing eggs, implanting embryos, waiting to be pricked, poked, penetrated, waiting to be called. Already called to the role of motherhood. Mothers with children waiting to be born. Shh! Maybe it'll work this time. Quiet. We're waiting for the babies. Silence. Science is present. Freeze. Natural hope frozen by the pain of disappointment after disappointment. My appointment was for 7:15 a.m. It is now 8:15 a.m. and I want to stand up and yell. I have 4 children. They all came naturally, without even trying, without ovulation kits, conceived in the messy bed of healthy, passionate spiritual union. I want to yell over the monotone hum of white lab coats, sterile wipes, butterfly needles, icy stirrups, KY gel, warming gel, non-absorbent paper towels, and more gel. I want to yell over the unspoken doctrine of the waiting room walls. Here in the chapel of creation, if you wait your turn, follow the protocol. Do what you are told, when you are told, exactly how you are told. Then you will be called. Maybe you will be called. No promises, no guarantees. Just wait. Checkbook in hand, patiently, observantly, without complaint, for as long as it takes, for as much as it costs, and pray that God will smile upon you. Nice girls, such nice girls, waiting to be blessed. I can afford to yell. I have been called. I have my babies. I want to yell for every one of these mothers. I want to yell down the walls of science. Find the fertilized feelings hidden in the dark, damp corners of this quiet waiting room. I want to yell until the frozen eyes can breathe again. I want to hear the thawed-out cry for life nesting on the tip of every tongue in the room. It's 8:30 a.m. The doctor calls me in. She shoots me in the gut with human growth hormone. She says, "This is very nice what you're doing for your sister." I nod yes, but the truth is, there is nothing nice about this. It is not nice. It is necessary. I'm done for the day. I bring the billing sheet to the counter. I tell the medical assistant the bill is already paid. She types my number into the computer. I chew my gum with the full snapping force of my Brooklyn heritage. The assistant says, "We have no record of the payment." I know that my sister paid. I say, "It's not under my name." "Why not?" she asks. I hesitate. Then I say with an air of annoyance, "Because I am the gestational carrier." The assistant lowers her eyes. The women at the counter lower their eyes. Why? I don't understand. Standing there, snapping my gum in my denim capris, with my hair clamped on top of my head, holding my pink and purple Kmart plastic beach bag pocketbook in one hand, and my cup of Starbucks Cafe Venti in the other, I suddenly feel like a two-bit surrogate. The slap of shame came out of nowhere. And it's suddenly everywhere. The great silencer. The shame of infertility. Holding its hand over the mouths of these women. It is a shame that they can't have a baby naturally. They're ashamed that they can't have a baby naturally. Shame should not have a place here. But who am I kidding? So much of my pride as a woman is tied to that cord. For all anyone knows, this is my job. Pop out other women's babies for money. This place makes me want to slouch. A surge of power comes over me. Maybe the hormones kicked in. I throw back my shoulders. Smack the slimy hand of shame off my thigh. and strut my baby-bearing hips out of there. I am free, at least until tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Shame versus pride in being a woman. This journey put me in touch with just how much we bear as women in embodying the body that we embody. There's shame and there's pride. My next guest is a good friend, a partner in so many of my creative endeavors. She actually helped me take the manuscript of Surrogate Church and put it into a theatrical piece that we produced for New York University. So we're going to talk a little bit about that experience with my dear friend, Maddie Cheers. Maddie! Finally! Maddie's been traveling, so I haven't had a chance to see her in such a long time, right?
Over a month, yeah.
Over a month, and she was visiting at our school today, telling stories to the kids. I'm like, Maddie, do you want to be on our show? She said, sure.
Why not?
Here she is. So I've just sort of kidnapped her and got her to be on the show. But anyway, Maddie, so you've been with Surrogate Church for a while, right?
Yes.
We took it and did our little theatrical piece. Now it's a couple of years ago.
Yes, and now we're going to birth it into the world, one of my favorite ever pieces. I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant in everything it has to say about where women are, about where we are now, about where we need to go to. I think one of my favorite things that we were just talking about on the way here has to do with what's nice and what's necessary. And that a lot of times we were talking about my sister Celia and her taking in her grandchildren.
Yes.
And their father when they needed a place to live. And everybody talks about how nice that is. It's incredibly nice, but it's also like what you did, it's incredibly necessary. And it's that love. It's love of family, love of humanity that tells you that this is the right thing to do, and it's undervalued.
I agree. And it's not only undervalued, but there isn't a level of success that is partnered with that.
Yes.
Like, that is such a mark of a successful woman.
Yes.
A woman who can make room, even when there's no room at the end,
right,
for more. Like, there is room. And these children are going to be held and taken care of and have stability. That is success. That is such a mark of success. And it's diminished by calling it nice.
Yeah, exactly.
That's nice.
Because it's nice to ourselves. It's nice to the community. It's like when we talk to the kids about not being a bully or not condemning somebody or not making fun of them. It's not that you're mean and not nice. It's that you're wrecking things for the rest of us. You become part of changing somebody into something they weren't meant to be. None of us are born into the world wanting to be a criminal or wanting to be the bully, or we get into that role because somebody hurt us. And that hurts the community. It hurts everybody else. So yes, we are being nice, but it is necessary to be nice.
Because it's about community.
Right.
It's about the greater good and keeping the greater peace. Maddie and I, we also work together in a program that Maddie and her husband Bob Vetter run, called Journeys into Native American Indian Territories. And it really teaches the way of the Iroquois, and especially their teachings on peace, which that really reminds me of that sense of, like, where like how far will we go to be able to create peace? And is the pathway to peace nice? Like, is it a nice? Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. It's and I think that's very true. It's not necessarily nice when they talk about one of the attributes of a great leader, aside from choosing somebody whose character qualities are peaceful, kind, respectful, responsible, honest, unselfish, humble, open-minded, humble, and undervalued quality in our culture, but also they have to have a skin 7 layers thick. You are picking these people because throughout their lives, starting as children of people who raised them in the correct way, they have put others before themselves, also undervalued in our culture, so that they have a skin 7 layers thick because you're trusting them to make a decision that is right for the community. So people are going to get mad at them. People are going to want to punch them in the face. They can't punch back. They're not being nice by not punching back. They have agreed to set an example of nonviolence. If I'm going to talk about peace, if I'm going to teach peace, I can't punch you because you punched me. I can't go into that realm of revenge. It's not because I'm so nice, which if you look at our culture, nice guys finish last.
Right.
So you're right. We need to change the dialogue. It's not the nice part of it.
You know what, as you're actually talking, what I'm thinking about is like, so for so much of us, and I'm one of those nice girls, like the nice is really, the need is about, it's a self-fulfilling need. I want to keep thinking of myself as the nice girl. My actions are really going to help me feel like a good person. Where the other way, it is about community oriented. This isn't just for me, it is for greater good. In our case with the surrogacy, it's for our circle.
Right.
Rosalie and Stephen not taking their last potential for a child to, the ends of possibility would have left a black hole in the family. Even if the surrogacy didn't work out, but we made the honest attempt in going forth in full faith, we would have been able to come to terms with it. We would have grieved and we would have come to terms with it. And I feel like that's connected to Celia too. She leaves those 2 boys behind, her grandchildren behind, and they grow up and they're lost. There is no going back and repairing that.
No.
Right? So it is about thinking beyond ourselves.
Yeah, it's the depth of nice. It's the
like
depth
that.
of nice,
like
because there are plenty of parents running around going, oh, I can't punish my child because it won't be nice, we won't be friends.
Right.
Your responsibility to the community, you've raised 4 wonderful children.
Thank you.
Celia's raised 2, my sister Linda's raised 2, my brother is in the process of raising 2 wonderful children, and they have limits. They know you can't be impolite. You can't grab the toy out of the other kid's hand. You have to, there are community responsibilities. You can't always be nice if you're a parent. You can't always be their friend. You can if you're their aunt, which I have been. I get the role of being the one that's always nice.
So true.
But I'm not there every day. And it's much harder. It's much harder to look at what is necessary and what is courageous. It's courageous to not be the one that's the best friend, to not be the one that's always thought of the cool one or the cool mom, because you're busy raising a child that has a responsibility to the community at large. And you can't always be the cool one when you're doing that. I get that job.
That's an
Not that I'm cool, but...
But you're a stardust auntie.
Right.
And I think when you speak of courage, that I really find truth in it. Even today, I was thinking of reading a piece that you might remember when we did the theatrical performance called Red Mass. Now this Red Mass is a Mass of the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit comes through me very fiery. My tongue gets very fiery. And I wrote a piece about it, and it, really speaks to a lot of my anger with the church. So I'm thinking about doing it today, and it's our second show, and I think, oh no, I don't think I should do this. I think Bobby, who's the producer of Paradise Studios, he's going to get mad at me because he really loves the church. I cannot do it yet. I've got to give him a little more time to ease into it. And there will come a time where I will be ready to read that on the air. But the readiness has to come with, all right, I may be seen in a way that is going to create judgment. And the story of Mary Magdalene is she's the one who was stoned. She carries the stone. She carries the stone that says, you know what, before you're going to throw a stone at somebody else, really look to yourself and listen. And I know that one of your passions right now is this movement towards finding common ground with people who really have diverse viewpoints and opinions, but can a space be created? And I know your tongue gets fiery too.
Yes.
You get yourself in trouble, Maddie.
Yes, I have many times. But I think that in this last year, where we're really, if we're wise, we're looking at leaders on both sides of the aisle trying to divide us, because it's very easy to keep control over people that are divided. But I think that in talking especially to women, that we see that there's a lot of areas where we connect, even on topics that may be as divisive as pro-choice, pro-life. That there are areas even within that where women connect. If women are talking, what the problem is right now is there's a lot of men telling us what to do and what we should think. When you have men telling you, nope, sorry, you can't be in this political party unless you're, pro-choice. You can't be in this political party unless you're pro-life. So I say, let's have a new political party. Let's have the women's political party, because we are likely to sit down and do, as you said in your piece, listen. And when we allow ourselves the courage to sit down and listen and be challenged by someone else's story, by someone else's point of view, then we can change the world.
And the ancient, really, knowledge of the Iroquois, if we look at their government, it's matriarchal.
Yep.
Women, they understood the divinity of women. That women really can, in fact, see the broader picture and take the children into consideration, and not just this generation, but seven generations forward. So it's very powerful in that sense of, right, women have to begin to own their divinity.
Exactly. And we can't own our divinity if what we're doing is mimicking the way men are powerful.
Right. It's
different.
It's different. And it so has its place. Right? It's necessary for men to own their divinity too.
Absolutely.
I don't feel like I'm an expert to tell men about their divinity, but we'll work on the women's part and really raising that voice, because I think that a lot of our men are starting to come into a sense of where is the spirit, and what is the meaning of what's going on, and try to move it forward. The other thing that I partner with Maddie on, we celebrate the moon, the new moon, the full moon, and in the piece, Fertility Clinic, we were talking a lot about, or I came in touch with this idea of shame, where women carry shame. And I know with my own daughters, when they arrived at the age where they were about to get their period, they had so much shame and worry about, what if I get my period in school? It was like stressing them out. And in the Native American Moon Circle, tell us about it. I don't need to tell us, you tell us. Why was there a Moon Circle in the first place?
Well, so I carry one tradition, which is the Lenape tradition, because we're adopted into a Lenape family. But the idea of the Moon Circle was that on the full moon, women would get together, all the women would get together, and they would call on their ancestors and bring their issues to the fire, whatever they were dealing with, whatever was causing them stress or joy. It really didn't matter, though the full moon is more about the releasing. The nice thing for this was that once a month, for however long, when women are together, we sync up. We always, women who work in offices, get their period at the same time, or their moon time, if you prefer, at the same time. Back then, your moon ended with the full moon. I mean, that's how synced people were with each other in nature. So you had the young women getting that sort of, week off and being able to be out and in doing things, maybe doing their decorating, relaxing, talking to each other. The men, the grandmothers took care of the children. Then the grandmothers would join for that moon circle, so that you have that multi-generational experience of talking with each other. You have the ritual which is so important in bringing us together.
Right.
So the ritual, the ceremony, you had rituals around women coming of age. So it was a great thing. When we were out on the Navajo reservation, and they did for us, thank goodness for them that they did this, the hair tying ceremony, where when a woman gets her moon, she then is made part of the community in a new way through this whole beautiful ceremony of hair tying, with the medicine man singing the beautiful songs that go with that the whole time that her grandmother is tying her hair in this beautiful way, so that there's not the shame. It's looked at as a great thing. You've now entered phase 2 of your life.
And don't they see, like, women, when they do get their period, it is a form of ceremony?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
That in itself.
Yes. The biggest misunderstanding that non-Native people have, non-Indian people have, about this idea that, women don't participate in certain ceremonies during their moon is that, that's because women were less than men. That's our culture putting that on them. No, it's because women are in ceremony all the time. We are in the ceremony of preparing to bring life into the world. We are spiritually closer to the Creator. We are the life givers. You can't take one ceremony into another. It's like a clash.
Yes, that makes sense.
So if you're on your moon, that was a good time for the women to be together celebrating this ceremony of being able to give life. And it was a good time for the men to do their ceremonies, their sweat lodges, whatever it is they needed to do on their own to connect with their divine masculinity, because there's the recognition that in the masculine need to protect and hunt, there is also violence. So how do you bring that into balance? So it's all about bringing everything into balance, and about honoring both, honoring what is great and divine in everyone.
And it's beautiful, because this idea of ceremony, the joining for a sacred intention, even if the intention is just to release everything you've built up so you can fill back up with love and light. When we were going into the period in the surrogacy where it was the day of implantation, the women of my family created their own ceremony. Now, none of us said it was a ceremony, but it was. The women, it was women only. The women at home, my aunt, my cousins, they were home praying the rosary. Rosary is a very powerful female prayer because it's the mother, the Blessed Mother. My mother came with me, and Rosalie came with me. in the Italian culture, Rosalie not being able to have a baby, there is a sense of we've got to be careful here in case there is any energy on her that's preventing her from having this child. So she needed to stay out and be in the waiting room. She didn't come into implantation with us. My mother came in. We called in grandmother because my grandmother was a healer. So this is going on like as the subtext, meanwhile everybody's in lab coats. Who would think in an operating room a ceremony is going on? But women in community can create ceremony by joining together for common good.
Yep.
Common good, right? Common ground, common good, common sense.
That's right.
Right? Let's just be with it. And that's actually one of the pieces I did choose to read today was about that morning of implantation, how we did gather and just in prayer, because we knew that it was no longer in our hands. This really Spirit, God had to be there with us if we were going to make it through either way, the passage. So that, I guess, will be the next piece we'll go to.
Yay.
Great. Wednesday morning. Secret gathering of the Order of the Marys, the women of our clan at home praying the rosary, Rosalie in the waiting room holding her breath, trying to remain invisible. The hands that have been placed upon her womb cannot get hold of this information. Her child is about to be transferred to another home. An underground tunnel awaits the arrival. The journey begins. We enter the operating room. We are all dressed in robes of blue, our heads covered in blue, the color of the Blessed Mother. She is with us. I feel her cloak of comfort wrapped around us. I think of the young Blessed Mary when the angel appeared. How scared and unsure she must have felt to open her body to receive the child of God. Am I worthy enough to receive this gift? My mother sits beside me. She is a Mary full of grace. She prays like no other, reciting the prayers of our tradition, creating an armor of protection. She is the guardian. The embryologist enters, a young scientist with eyes of blue. Good news, we have a grade A embryo. It has already grown from 4 to 8 cells. It wants to live. She wants to live. I think about my grandmother, my namesake, the woman I never met, but who has always been there. I have her color hair. She is here today and makes the promise to be present throughout. She died when my mother was 18 years old. The loss was profound, but her lesson lives on. She was the family peacemaker, matchmaker, midwife. She had a natural remedy for all ailments. She brewed healing teas, worked with leeches, gave massages with heated coins. She knew how to remove the evil eye, water, olive oil, and special prayers. She told stories of curses made in Italy, wolf boy and needle girl, and worst of all, curses put upon a woman's womb. She was a woman of great faith, an Italian mystic, my green strega, nonna, nanin. She lived by the commandments of Jesus: love thy neighbor, turn the other cheek, find compassion in all encounters. She has stepped forward. She will lead the child through the passage. Of this I have no doubt. The doctor enters. She seems happy and says, I like Wednesday mornings, implantation day. It is the time when hopes are high. I like Wednesday mornings too. It's the day my writing group meets, our circle of women so strong in their support. I know their thoughts are with us. They gave me a statue of Mary Magdalene carrying a water jug. Let her waters fill my womb. Create the cradle. Rock the baby. My lady, how do you know of this suffering? Was there a curse put upon your womb? Was infertility one of the demons Jesus cleared from you? Somehow I know, you know this struggle, for you arrived the day I arrived at the decision to walk this path. The procedure about to begin. The sonogram set a window to my uterus, the straw in place bypassing my tubes, creating a tunnel to life. The embryo placed at the entrance. We all take a deep breath. And as we exhale, our child is carried on the breath of her mother and grandmother and great-grandmother and godmother to the place where she will grow for the next 9 months. The sonogram allows us to see where she lands. The doctor, the scientists, the nurses are all smiles. Look, it implanted exactly where it needed to go. We see her, the beginning of her, a dot, clear as can be, snuggled deeply in my uterus. I want to keep watching, but the sonogram is turned off, the window closed. We will know in 10 days. I have here with me my mother, who was there that day, who was there from the start of the process, who carries the message of her mother, my grandmother, to me, and prays like no other. She really knows how to do those prayers, and I'm a great believer that the prayers she said that day really helped to make this possible. So here's my beautiful mom.
Oh,
hi,
thank
Mom.
you, Mary.
Mom and Maddie know each other. They're old friends. Mom has actually been to a moon circle of Maddie's.
Yes, I have enjoyed it very much.
I think a couple of times.
Right?
Yeah.
You really got there,
A
and
new world for me opened up when I came to the moon circle. It was great. It was wonderful. Wow, this is an exciting day for me.
Do you remember
the first time I'm on a
13
TV show. So I'm going to get a great following on Facebook.
we would love
Okay.
that, Mom. Definitely.
Okay.
But tell us, do you remember that day?
Oh, do I remember
Right,
that day?
the implementation day.
Oh,
What do you
please.
remember about it?
Well, before I go there, what I'd like to say, Marianne, is that how much we admire you for your strength,
Oh.
yes, for your courage, determination, and to give your sister a gift to life. Could you ask for anything more than that? I mean, it was so hard for us to accept that.
At the time it was
And
hard.
and then came in the fears, a lot of fears. And when it all came about, what I could remember when you came forward and tell Rosalie what you planned to do, meanwhile you had done everything that you were supposed to do beforehand, and said, I'm ready for this. And Rosalie's crying, no, you have 4 children, that can't happen. I don't want you to do this. But you were so determined, so relaxed, and said, this is my journey right now. This is something that I want to do. You didn't ask me, but I want to do it.
So true.
So going forward with this, and the day at the hospital when you walked in, and I walked in the room, and there you're lying in bed, and I look at your face, and you gave me the biggest smile, and it asked me to be behind you, to put my hands on your shoulders behind you.
I asked you?
No, the doctors did.
Really?
You don't remember
I don't
that?
see there. I didn't remember that.
Yeah, they told me, okay, you go behind her, and I was back of you, holding my hands on your shoulder, and there's a big screen there, and here they are implementing your the embryo, and I tell my the only thing I was dear God, please.
Right, praying. What else do you do at that moment, right? You just pray.
Exactly.
But you're good with your prayers.
I did.
You've been praying your whole life.
All my life. So the prayers started way before you were lying on that bed. Oh, anyway. That embryo, that little girl, I tell you, she went woo right through it. Doctor, she's right where she's supposed to be. And that was joyful. It was so joyful.
It felt like there was
and
she took hold.
And you received it with such love. She says, Mom, it happened. And there you are, and tears coming down your face with such joy. And then we went out to Rosalie, who was a total wreck. I think she was praying, crying, you know what she was doing.
The worst possible position for her.
But that was only the beginning. Then we didn't know if you were going to get pregnant.
Right. We had to wait 10 days.
You had to wait, and
The
that was the
longest 10
greatest
days.
day of all. And from that day forward, Marian, every day for the next 9 months, it was every day. I don't know how you survived the calls. Are you okay? What are you doing now?
Right.
Don't do laundry. Don't cook.
No stress.
No
Try
stress.
not to have stress.
Rosalie took over taking care of your 4 beautiful children. So it was quite a journey. And
What do you think is the power of prayer in something like this?
the power of prayer gave you the strength, number one, the courage to go forward with something. And also the power of prayer puts you at peace.
Yes,
That you're leaving it in somebody else's hands. You're leaving it in God's hands that you believe so much. And you feel, take over. I can't handle this. Because you can't handle it. It's too much,
And I
too
do
much
think
pain, too much worry.
this was sort of like an extreme case, right? This choice for birth. It really forced us to look at it. But I do think this idea of creating anything, there is a certain level of having to surrender it to sort of what we were talking about just now, Maddie, this greater good, the intention. And that's actually, as we're talking about this, I feel like what was implanted that day was our intention to bring forth new life.
Yes.
It was just, you were there. I felt a lot of our ancestral power, like your mother. I wrote about her.
Yes.
Right? She was so
Definitely.
much a healer of other women. The
Yes,
old way, the
yes.
folk way.
Right.
Right?
So true. Yes.
And it was the intention in our DNA, to be okay, we are doing everything we can to bring forth new life. And if it doesn't work, right, it wasn't part of a greater plan.
Wasn't part of it. It wasn't meant to be.
Was it meant to be?
Right. It wasn't
Right.
meant to be. And we
What would your
accept-
mother say about it, do you think?
Oh, she'd be right there. She'd be a midwife.
Yeah.
Yeah, she would.
She would
stand
probably
right
be
beside
making
you.
me some remedies.
Yeah, all the remedies, all the good, healthy remedies for you to carry this child. Yes, yes. How do you feel about giving the gift of life? You speak about us. What is in your heart that you were able to do something like this?
Definitely one of my greatest accomplishments. Definitely one of my greatest accomplishments. And because it wasn't mine alone.
Yes.
Right? It wasn't mine alone. It was a community accomplishment. I think that's what really is coming up for me today in our talk about it, is that this was a community garden. Like, we grew this sunflower, that cute little thing who was sitting on this couch, who's now 13, but it took all of us.
Yes, it did.
It took all of us.
It took all of us.
And it was mostly women.
Yes.
Like Lee, right? He was totally supportive of it. Steve and Rosalie's husband was like right there, anything we needed. But they were in the balcony of this.
That's right.
Like,
so
this
true.
was really women
You had
working together
you
in the
had
family.
a circle of so much
And-
admiration and love.
And
really,
And
you
people,
really did.
yes, for sure. Such good wishes and support. And I think that people really, like, they were not, it wasn't really curious isn't the right word, but they wanted to hear more about it.
Yes.
Right? There was
Yes.
that sense of like tell us more about it. What's
yes.
going on? It's when you know that through the surrogacy I really connected to Mary Magdalene.
Yes.
Which, like, how do you know Mary Magdalene? What do you know of her?
I know that she was a prostitute.
Right, which was
Yeah.
wrong.
It was
She
wrong.
wasn't. It's how they wrote it. It's not true. But she was misseen because of other reasons. But she really wasn't a prostitute. But she brings a message of don't throw stones.
Yes.
And she also in her gospel, there is a Gnostic gospel of
Right.
Mary Magdalene, which has some of her writings that were lost, but they're little pieces of it. And what she repeats over and over again is this phrase: if you have ears, listen. Listen to these teachings, but listen beyond the word. Listen beyond appearances. Listen beyond just what is being said. Get underneath it. Get underneath it. Feel it. Come to know it. And that was the investigation in this process. Like, this became, okay, what is going on underneath this story of me being implanted, right?
Yes.
And I've met other surrogates. I have, and it's very simple. The story was very simple. Yeah, and it took, and I carried. We, as a community, as our family,
That was new to us. It was
we
something
went
new.
deep. What you're saying, Maddie, about the depth of the nice.
Yep.
We took it to a depth because we linked arms. And I talked about that idea of the women of the family praying the rosary.
Yes.
Like a circle that's saying the same prayer with the same intent for goodness
Yes.
really creates a lot of
And
power.
it created all this strength and energy.
Right.
And you received it. You were there to receive it.
Thank
Yes.
you, cutie. I get nervous.
One
Well,
day, no, I'm not nervous anymore.
See, you
But
feel
what
good?
happened- She's gonna walk right to heaven through those.
Oh, do you hear that, God? My mother gave me permission. Anyway, my
And
dear, beautiful
I
ladies,
want to
go ahead.
thank you on behalf of Rosalie that she is so dedicated and loves you so much.
Well, this is what I say, because I was thanked 1,100 times for this. For as many times as I have been thanked, I will say to our Mary, who we
Yes.
got here, you're welcome. You are welcome to this family. You are welcome to this planet. You are welcome to this universe, and we adore you. And so, Guess what? It's almost at the end of our show, and we will close with the final piece of today.
Good job. I'm grateful that you, my daughter.
Get over here.
So proud.
Give me a kiss, you cutie. All righty. Thank you again, and I actually
Goodbye
forgot
for
the
now.
name of the piece I was going to read, but it has to do with listening. So there we go.
Okay.
So we come to the end of our show today. I want to talk a little bit about our art pieces that we're featuring. One is my beautiful cow, Mava, I like to call her. Recently, I have just been loving the cow. I'm a Taurus, so maybe it has to do with that. For my birthday, my mother got me this beautiful Italian gold horn connected to the cow. So since I've been loving the cows, I started to do a little research about them. And I found out that cows are the only animal you can see from outer space. What does that mean? Scientists say they're magnetic. They have this magnetic piece. And they form friendships of three girlfriends together, the three cows, and they position themselves according to the movement of the stars. And the cows with horns, their horns are like antennas to spirit. So, look, they may seem like they graze all day, but these girls are special, and I am loving them. So, with invocation, I invoke the cows to close the show today, for us to all have greener pastures, for us all to have at least 2 good girlfriends that can align with the stars, and to activate all of our horns so that we can hear the music of the universe. I also want to talk a little bit about reading these pieces out loud. I wrote them in spoken word form, spoken word. There is something about sound, about a word being spoken out loud, that carries a certain resonance, that carries a certain vibration, especially words that were written at a sacred time. And so I need to speak them. I need to say them out loud. And I thank you for having the ears to listen to them, because without them, where would they go without being heard? They need to be heard. So thank you for opening your ears. We are going to close the show today with a piece called Let Me Hear. Doubt fills the chambers of my ears. The drumming distracts me from the words trying to get through. If I listen and I hear that everything will be okay, and then everything is not okay, it will be so hard to listen again, to trust my inner voice. I avoid the conversation. It is so hard to have faith when the outcome is unknown. I hate not knowing. I hate when my head gets so noisy that I can't hear. Listen. That was the message of Mary Magdalene. For those who have ears, let them hear. I open my ears, I try to listen, but all I hear is the chatter of anxiety. What are the chances that this embryo will actually take? The head doctor at the clinic calls me into his office. He sits me down and gives me the odds. About a 10% chance of taking. And if it does take, no guarantee that the embryo will be healthy. Do I still want to go through with this? We've come so far. We made it through the psych exam, the physical exam, the 100 of blood exams, the legal transfers and contracts, the refusal of synthetic hormones, the daily monitoring of my ovulation. The numbers are right. They're ready. I listen to the facts. Suddenly, I hear no chatter. Of course, I still want to go through with this. No fear, no logic, no questions, only faith. How did that happen? Here I sit, listening to the not so hopeful facts, and I hear my lady's hope. She takes my hand and says, "It is in God's hands now." For one brief moment, all is exactly as it should be. I am not attached to any particular outcome. I am in awe of the possibility before me. I am touched by the tenderness of the heavens. And I realize that I really do trust God more than science. I thank science for letting me be here. I thank God for letting me hear. Together, we schedule our next appointment. The duality, science versus mysticism, faith versus fear, shame versus pride, nice versus necessary. The other pieces of art you saw today were done by my Mary, my 18-year-old. One is called Gemini, which is the two sides, the duality in all of us. We are always traveling the path of duality. For every moment of darkness, there is light. For every possibility of fear, there is faith. Duality. And the final piece of art, which is also Mary, is the explosion of color that can come from our heart out into the world. So when love is the guide, then it makes room. It makes room, not just for your colors, for your music, for your call, but the colors and call and music and story of everyone around you. And so I wish you the best of weeks. Thank you again for joining us, and I will see you next time.